This is to give parents a heads up on our upcoming sixth grade project, which is the Science Fair project. There are 3 parts to this project. Part 1 is the Science Fair project plan. Part 2 is the Science Fair project data and analysis. And Part 3 is the Science Fair project report, which involves a trifold board. This video will cover just Part 1. Part 1 is the Science Fair project plan. We have covered lessons on how to set up a project plan in class this last week, week 16, which is November 28 to December 2. And this is where students research and chose a teacher-approved project in class. And they also identified their variables. So if you would go to their notebook, you would see that we have notes covering the Science Fair project. And it looks like this. Let's see. So anything that has a Science Fair project as a title, because in class, I walked them through on how to take notes in their learning log, which is their composition notebook, on the Science Fair project. So the title would have like Science Fair project. And we also covered variables and what variables are, and we color-coded them. And then we also covered Science Fair project variables, where they wrote down the project title, and then they also chose the variables that they will manipulate, what they will measure, and what they will control. All right. So back to the project plan. Next week, which is the week 17, December 5 to 9, we are covering how to write an inquiry question, how to write their hypothesis, and to list their materials needed. And we will be using our learning log again to document all of those things. Let's talk about the materials. Materials are teacher approved. Most of this, once your student talks to you about their project, please check if you have these at home. If not, the science department can supply the rest. And if we can't supply the rest, then that means that your student needs to change their project. They still have time to change it. So our constraint is that their project needs to have materials that are approved, that are readily available, and that are less than $20 to buy. These are the constraints of our project materials. So materials need to be readily available. So we need to have them in the science lab, or we can easily get them in a grocery store like Smart and Final. They need to be very inexpensive. And if the science lab does not have it, then parents or guardians will agree to get them. Their project needs to be, they will need to be able to conduct their project in 4 weeks or less. And their project needs to be related to the topic that we've been talking about for the last 16 weeks. And if not, if they want to choose a project that's fun, they just know that their achievement level starts at a 3-4 instead of starting at a 7-8. So I'm having the kids list down their materials, including the amount that they needed. This list is due December 14. That way I would know that if home cannot provide for it, then the science department will be providing for the materials, and I will have time to curate and organize the materials for your student. So the materials list is due December 14, and I will have a winter break to be able to collect those materials, to be able to give it to them when they get back in January. Right. The last thing with step 1 is their project plan, procedures, right? So students need to work on their procedures during winter break. Just to let you know, they don't need to work on their investigation yet, unless their procedures are correct. So if their procedures are not checked yet, they shouldn't work on it during winter break. If they don't know how to do this, please tell them to check Google Classrooms for science fair video tutorials. Okay, the science fair project plan is due January 13, 2023, so next month, but I am posting this next week, between December 5 and 9. So this summative is in Google Classroom. They can start working on it. Okay, so that's part 1 of the science fair project. Part 2 is the investigation. So when they start investigating this, they need to have their project plan, the project procedures in place. And their investigation need to be conducted and data collected by February 13. This investigation needs to be done at home, but after school, teacher help is available in January and February, so there's more information to come. Okay, and then the last part of the project is a science fair project report, which involves a trifold folder, a board, right? So it looks like this. Okay. All right. And the very last thing is we do have a science fair where projects that are completed and correctly done are exhibited for judges to see, and then we have a competition on a first place, second place, and a third place winners of the science fair. I will let you know when the exact date of that science fair is in March. All right, so more emails to come about the science fair. We will be covering in detail part 2 and part 3, so stay tuned.